Lucifer was on his way to visit the hotel. He's been depressed for quite a while now, and he was excited to see his daughter. He believed that seeing her might make him happy and might make him feel joyful inside, and he couldn't wait to meet him. As Lucifer then went to the hotel, suddenly he would meet Alastor. Alastor looked a lot like him, and Lucifer wasn't interested in meeting a sinner, but there was something about him that was different. At first, Alastor would be totally threatened by Lucifer. After all, he is Charlie's dad. He needed to manipulate Charlie so he can get what he wanted. So they would have a song battle, but through that song battle, Lucifer didn't admit it, but he started to actually like Alastor. Not like him, but as a person. He was smart, witty, and he sang a good song. And Alastor also started to like him. And it was getting harder for Lucifer and Alastor to hate each other. But suddenly the song would be interrupted. As Alastor would go throughout his business, Lucifer would go throughout his business just like in canon. But Lucifer couldn't get Alastor out of his mind. As he left and went back home, he kept thinking about Alastor, and he couldn't help but think about him. There was something about him, the way he talked, the way he walked. He even had a cane just like him. At first, he didn't like it. He thought he was a copycat, but now that he realized it, someone like him could be useful. Lucifer would stay up late at night. He would have dreams about Alastor, and he couldn't explain it. Why is he dreaming about him? Why is he thinking about him like this? Could he be in love? No. Lucifer doesn't swing that way, and even if he did, Alastor, why would he like him? That's just stupid. He would think about him for seconds, then minutes, then hours, and eventually a few days. He couldn't help it. He needed to see Alastor again. Alastor would be relaxing, doing one of his radio shows since he's been gone for so long, as suddenly he'd hear a door knock. As Alastor opened, he said, the king of hell himself. What brings you to my humble abode? Lucifer says, I'm sorry we got off on the wrong foot when we met. I know you don't really like me that much, but I didn't mean to offend you. Alastor was shocked. He didn't think Lucifer would straight up apologize. And he was a gentleman, even though he was a criminal, to say the least. So he decided to humor him and say, apology accepted. So what brings you here? Lucifer would look at Alastor and say, I just wanted to talk. Talk, huh? All right. As then Lucifer decided to summon some deer. As Lucifer would look at Alastor and say, all right, so this will be our dinner. I heard you also enjoyed some, a light cannibal. Suddenly, Alastor would just laugh and say, yes, I know, I'm one of those. But hey, it doesn't matter, deer's fine. Lucifer and Alastor would eat deer and even drink some wine as they started to talk about each other and about their lives. And Alastor actually started to like Lucifer. He misjudged him. He was kind of a bit of a gentleman, but it made sense. The only reason he didn't like him was because of what Lilith told him. Alastor probably shouldn't get too close. This was a mistake, but then he had an idea. Maybe he can use Lucifer to, break his chains, break his contract. After all, if Lucifer did this for him, then he could be free. He hesitated telling anyone about it because he didn't want to look weak. He wanted everyone to think he was strong. That's why he didn't tell Charlie. But this was a chance to get out of this. This was a chance to break his contract once and for all. So he had to do this. He became quite, desperate. As Alastor would look at Lucifer and say, I need to tell you something. I would hate to admit that I'm weak to anyone, and I mean anyone, but I must say that I have been under someone else's control. Someone else owns my soul, and I need you to help me. I figured you would quite benefit from this. After all, if you helped me, I could actually help out your daughter without being under someone else's control. Lucifer would look at Alastor and say, go on. Who is controlling you? Alastor would look at him and say, your ex-wife, Lilith. Lucifer was shocked, but then he started to get angry. He couldn't believe this. First, his wife started to take away his daughter. She started to make him spend less and less time with her, and she loved her more. Now, all of a sudden, she takes away his new love interest. This pissed Lucifer off more than anything. Alastor said, "So, is there a way you can get rid of this soul contract?" Lucifer smirked and said, "There is one way, but first I need you to do something for me." Alastor would look at Lucifer and say, "What's that?" Lucifer would say, "I'll help you out if you go on one date with me." Alastor was shocked. Alastor says, "You know I'm A." Lucifer would say, I know. We can't do any of that intimate stuff, but, that stuff's boring anyway. Why don't we just try doing a relationship without that?" Alastor would say, You really sure about this?" Lucifer would nod and say, "Sure." Alastor really didn't want to go on this date, but Lucifer was excited, and it was either go on a date with Lucifer or be under Lilith forever. So it's not like he had much of a choice, so he said fine. He agreed to go on a date with Lucifer on the one condition: he gets to choose where the first date is. And Lucifer happily obliged him. As they went to Cannibal Town, they went down there, and Alastor would enjoy his favorite meal, which was, well, you know what it is. I don't want to say it because I don't want to get, As Alastor started to eat, Lucifer looked at Alastor, and as Alastor was enjoying his meal, he was hesitant to try it. True, he might have been, the king of hell, but he never did something like this. Rosie looked at him and said, I never assumed you would go on a date with my favorite boy here." Rosie would then smile and say, "And I also never assumed you wouldn't like this type of food." Lucifer said, "Oh my, I'm so sorry. I'm not insulting you, am I? I just never tried this. I didn't mean to insult you in your home. You must be..." Rosie would laugh and say, "Oh, don't mention it. You're the king of hell, and you're not insulting me. You're a sweetheart. I think you two make a cute couple. But I'm surprised he would date anyone, considering his history." Alastor would say, "It's just for a deal." Lucifer would laugh and say, "Oh, you won't be saying that when you're Miss Morningstar, or Mr., however that works." Alastor would look at Lucifer, and Lucifer would go, "Listen, I would take your last name. I'm already king of hell, and that would kind of ruin my reputation down here." Alastor would look at Lucifer and say, "That's not the point. Never mind." Lucifer and Alastor would have a rough start, but eventually Alastor would start to open up and enjoy their time together. And Lucifer, regrettably, would start to eat, what they served him in Cannibal Town. And he started to actually enjoy it. Both of them started to enjoy each other's company and have a good time. But after the day ended, Alastor said, "All right, I went on your date. How do I do this?" Lucifer looked at him and said, "It might be a bit painful, but there's one way to break the contract. You see, how a soul contract works is it needs a soul for it to work. So if I destroy your soul and bring it back, the contract will break and you'll be free." Alastor says, "You have to destroy me first, though?" Lucifer would nod and say, "Yes, I do. Are you ready for that?" Alastor would be unsure if he should go through with it or not. After all, having his soul be destroyed and brought back, that's a big deal. After all, only Lucifer could do something like this. But Alastor trusted Lucifer. After all, even though Lucifer was the king of hell, he was a nice guy and he could trust him. Alastor would look and say, "All right, I trust you." Lucifer would smile and say, "Thank you," as he picked Alastor up and said, "All right, this might hurt a little." Alastor would say, "I'm sorry in advance." Suddenly, a bright light would overtake Alastor. As his soul would slowly melt away, he would be erased from existence. The contract would be broken. Then, Lucifer will bring him back. As Alastor looked around, he fell down to the floor. His head was hurting, as it took a while for him to get used to it. After all, having your soul be erased and brought back is a very traumatic experience, but he was free, and it was all thanks to Lucifer. Lucifer looked at him and said, "Thank you for going on a date with me. I know you don't..." Alastor grabbed his hand and he said, "Listen, I may not be interested in any of that romantic stuff, but I like you, so let's stay together." Lucifer and Alastor would both smile as they got together. Lucifer thought Alastor was quite dreamy and reminded him of him a lot. And Alastor, well, Lucifer was kind and sweet, and he made him happy, so that's all that really mattered. And that's going to leave things off. I really enjoyed making this, but YouTube's kind of cracking down on me doing these videos, and I don't know why. Maybe because they're too edgy or something, so I tried to limit myself to make it less dark as possible, so hopefully YouTube won't demonetize it. But you never know with YouTube. And if you're watching this trying to monetize it, please monetize it. I mean, and if you demonetize it, please tell me why. Like, send me an email or something, because I'm really confused. I mean, this really doesn't have anything bad to get demonetized by. By the way, if you're wondering who I'm talking to, in YouTube, when you upload a video, some guy has to check it in the company. So some guy's checking it right now, or he's already checked it and monetized it. But if he demonetized it, you're never going to see this video. So, yeah. Anyway, I love you all. Hope you're actually watching this. Peace out.